What is up, YouTube? If you don't already know, it's me here, and I'm back. My name is Mikey Pennington, and I have lost 200 pounds. In this series, I talk about stories from along the way and from my past, give little tips and tricks that might be helpful for you, and share the things I've learned along the way that brought me to where I am today. In this video, we're going to talk about when I stopped losing weight and things that might be helpful if this happens to you. In my last video, we talked about how I started magically losing weight. And during this time, I was working 2 jobs, eating a lot less because I just had less time to eat. I was still making horrible choices and keeping the same diet that I've pretty much had for my whole life. And I did mention that I was working these 2 jobs because I was planning to move to LA, which is where the next part of the story takes place. So this was in the year of 2016. Me and Dakota were going to LA. We're gonna start this new band, Common Grounds, if you haven't heard of us. Search YouTube, Common Grounds, and we should pop up right there. We have some good songs, check them out. And before moving, we were getting really prepared. We were saving money. I worked at Goodwill over here, so I'd already called the Goodwill over there, had a job interview lined up. Dakota had a job interview lined up, so we were all set. And we also had the place we were gonna live all lined up too. We were gonna rent a room for a really good price in an amazing location, Los Feliz, right next to Hollywood. I was feeling really good about my weight loss. I wasn't really trying to lose the weight, but it was just falling off. And if I could eat burritos and drink packs of beers and still lose weight, why would I ever have to change anything at all? Because I'm losing weight and I'm still doing all the things that got me to where I was to get big, but I'm still doing them. But I'm still losing weight. So the guy that we were gonna rent a place from, he was very, very strange. I remember I would have long conversations. I figured, we were gonna move with him, so it would be good to get to know him. He told us that he was blind. He would ask us all these details about ourselves. So I remember telling him that I was a big guy. I had lost a little bit of weight. Whenever I moved to LA, I was hoping to continue that. The reason I bring this up is because even whenever we were talking to this guy, it was still on my mind. It was still something that I wanted to do. I just didn't know how or what I was gonna do or have a plan to do it at all. Later on, he did say that he was gay, which definitely wasn't a problem. He would kind of pop off with these really weird things every once in a while, kind of inappropriate things, which was a little bit uncomfortable. But he was gonna let us rent a room from him for a really good price that you really can't find anywhere. Even though he was a little bit strange, he was still really cool, and we were looking forward to moving out there. The other reason I wanted to mention this is because it explains where we actually ended up when we moved to LA. We had those jobs lined up, we had the place lined up, and I remember I was working at AM/PM. I was getting a phone call from Brian, and of course I couldn't answer it because I was working. He leaves a voicemail on my phone, and he pretty much says hey, I'm really sorry, but it's not gonna work out. Mentioned something about the neighbors, we're not gonna like it. We had it all figured out. We're gonna be moving in a week. It's finally gonna happen. And then boom, we get hit with this message. Now we have no place to stay. And to make a long story really short, because this really is a whole crazy situation and story on its own, we ended up still going out to LA because we had the jobs lined up. And we were just gonna wing it and just see what could happen. We were gonna check out this apartment complex whenever we got there, and we were just kind of hoping that would work out, but nothing worked out, and we ended up staying in our van. That is where we lived for the first 2 months that we were in LA. We found a parking lot that was really good, one of the only parking lots that's kind of in LA, but it's just a little bit off to the side. And it was just the best parking lot ever. They had a Starbucks there, a bunch of food, a Togo's, Baskin Robbins, a Baja Fresh, a Costco, a Toys R Us. There was just so much in this parking lot, and it was really big. Even though this seemed really bad because we were homeless and didn't have a place to actually live, this worked out really well because we were able to have our money and also even be able to save more money if we wanted to because we didn't pay rent. And rent out in LA is like really expensive. I think during that time we were looking at $1,500, $1,200 for like a studio apartment. So we could have gone broke like really, really fast if we ended up staying in a place. During this time, if anything, my diet probably got worse with all of that money. And since we lived in a van, most of the time we were getting like McDonald's, Costco pizzas, or anything from Costco. There was a Del Taco across the street that we would go to quite frequently. And there was also 2 taco trucks right there as well. There was one in particular called Flamin' Taco, and I had many, many burritos from there. There's cringy videos of me eating those burritos in my early vlogs. And even on Dakota's phone, he has the best videos of me eating those burritos. I think one of the first days that we were in LA, me and Dakota got like a bottle of Fireball, some beers. The drinking just got worse. The diet got worse. And since we were living in a van, I guess I didn't really move all that much. I ended up getting the job at Goodwill, but I definitely wasn't working nearly as much as I was before we left. Since there was a Starbucks right there in the parking lot, we'd spend a lot of time over there charging our phones, using the internet. So it was a lot more chilling than I was doing prior to moving to LA. So my movement was way down. Diet is like worse than ever. There was a grocery store down the street. Early on, we didn't really know how to live in a van. We had traveled with our last band before, so we'd stayed in a van sometimes with like a bunch more people, but we didn't really have it down like how to live in a van. A lot of times I just get like deli chicken or like the sandwiches or stuff like that because I just didn't know. I worked at Goodwill in Los Feliz, which was right on Hollywood Boulevard. At the time, it was one of the top Goodwills in the whole LA area. And there was a guy that worked there. He was like special needs. He was like this really, really big guy. And me and this guy were like BFFs. We were best friends for life. He didn't know any English and he only knew Spanish. And I am Mexicano, but I don't know any Spaniano. We would talk to each other, but we wouldn't even know what each other were saying. We'd be in the break room and I'd be like, taquitos, burritos, cervezas. And then he would like name a few things, tacos or something, a tonto. We would just like talk about food, even though we didn't know how to really communicate to each other. Every time I would come to work, he'd be like, hi, son. Hi, son. He would call me his son. I think we both just got along really well because we were just both these 2 big guys that liked food. One of the funniest things he would do is when he would see me, sometimes he'd be like, Mikey, my mamacita? No, Mikey, my mamasota. I guess a mamasota is like a big woman. He would call me son, but he'd also call me a big woman. So like, Mikey, my mamasota. And he would do that with his hands too to make sure, you know, Mikey is a mamasota. No, mamacita? No, Mikey, mamasota. Even though I was homeless, I wasn't really eating like I was homeless. I was eating like, you know, like I got the money to spend, even though I didn't really have that much money to spend. I would still like eat out every day, go back to the van, throw back a 30 pack, maybe a bottle of Fireball, get some Panda Express. That was one of my favorite things there. All the things that I was doing before I left that was helping me lose weight pretty much came to a halt whenever I moved to LA. So after a couple months of this, we actually ended up moving to a place. We went to an apartment and I think the place is called like Westfield or Westlake. I think it's Westlake. We were in an apartment and we were renting out the living room, and that was a whole nother crazy story there, man. Like some good times there, but also some bad times there, man. A place that we lived on was on this massive hill, and I'm talking like this is like one of the steepest hills of all time. Like it was probably like that, you know what I'm saying? Like a straight big old hill that you have to go up to get to the apartment complex. And the apartment complex is like at the top of the hill. And I remember walking up that thing just dying, so out of breath. I couldn't breathe by the time we got to the top of that hill. I can't even talk. Like, I can't talk while I'm walking up that hill. And it's gonna take me like a few minutes to catch my breath to be able to say anything at all after this. Not just the street that we lived on was a hill, but this whole place was just hills everywhere. It's a lot harder to walk up a hill, and you're gonna burn way more calories walking up hills than you are if you were to just be walking on flat ground. So this was actually like probably one of the most helpful things that could have happened to me. I do remember I had weighed myself, and I'm not exactly sure, I don't remember the exact time, but I know I had got down to like 293. I was like weighing myself at Goodwill, and I was always sticking around that area. So before we left, I was used to every time I stepped on that scale, I was losing a big amount of weight. So, it was that 314, and then it was that 299, and then it was that 293. But it got to a point where I was just sticking around that 293, 94, 95 pounds. Now we're living in this place and I'm walking up these hills and I'm taking the red line. And even for the red line, you got stairs you got to walk up. And then the red line was like a few blocks away from my job. And I got to a point where I was walking like 6 miles a day, which is actually a lot of steps because that's what I do right now on a daily basis. There was one guy that was staying with us in the apartment for a while. All the freaking time, man. Like, I'd go to work and I'd be walking all these miles and everything and I'm chilling. And then he'd just like want to go somewhere. He'd be like, you want to go to the store? You want to go here with me? You want to go there with me? And I didn't really want to go anywhere with him. And I remember it was like kind of like lightweight, like, oh my God, I don't want to. But sometimes I would go with him. We'd walk and like go get beer or something, you know what I'm saying? So we'd just come back and start drinking. I'm still drinking every night. During this time, it was 3 tall cans of Budweiser. And I was able to get groceries, which was kind of good, so I'd get like Hot Pockets and like some eggs. And I really, 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 really liked turkey burgers. Every night I would have the same thing. I'd make these crazy turkey burgers with avocados and bacon. And I'd have 2 of those every night along with my 3 tall cans. I had food on deck, but I was still eating a lot of fast food and eating out a lot. And when my roommates weren't eating my groceries, then, I'd have the food at home too. I was moving a lot more. I was eating not healthy, but kind of eating real food. Also eating out a lot. So all the extra movement was really, really good for me, even though I still was not trying. I got to a point where I was just like maintaining the weight that I was at. So everything that I was doing before coming to LA, which helped me lose weight, brought me down to where I was. But since I was never trying, it just came to a halt. What I was doing was enough to maintain my weight. So in order for me to continue losing weight, I don't know if that's a good example or not. So it's like, you come down here, I lose the weight, I get here. But in order for me to lose weight, break through like that, I would have to either move more or eat less calories. What I was doing was only enough to keep me right here. So every time I'd step on that scale, I was just maintaining my weight. So still drinking the alcohol, still eating the food, wasn't burning enough calories to like bring me down anymore. I was just like stuck right there. If people start eating healthier, they will notice that they start to lose weight. Whether they're counting calories or not, just eating a healthier diet, a lot of times you'll be eating less calories than you would if you weren't eating a healthier diet. You might be losing weight really slowly, but you're surely losing weight. Then there comes a time where, just like me, it comes to a halt, and that's because you get to the point where you're just at maintenance. So eating the same, drinking all the alcohol, the fast food, lowering my activity levels. This was all stuff that just kept me where I was at. So if this is you and you started eating healthier and you lost a little bit of weight, kind of either stopped or it's like really slow, one thing you could do is add a little bit of exercise. So like even just going for like a 20-minute walk or a 30-minute walk, whatever you could handle and whatever you could sustain, that's going to be really good to help you lose more weight. Because for me, I was losing this weight, but I didn't actually go out of my way to exercise. So for you, if you're eating healthier, just add in a little bit of exercise and it's definitely going to help you get out of that, that little halt. You got to do a little bit more, A walk isn't going to be that intense. It's still going to maybe bring you in a little bit like that, you know what I'm saying? But that's still, you want to keep going in that direction. If you're already exercising, but you do the same exact thing every day, you could also bring up the intensity a little bit. If you're going for that 20-minute walk, maybe bump it up to a 30-minute walk. Or if you want to keep doing that 20-minute walk and you're kind of like just walking at a slower pace, bump up the pace a little bit. And anything that you could like add a little bit more intensity, it's going to help you lose weight. Another thing you could do is consume less calories. And this could be like a really easy fix as well. You could swap out different things. So like if you're eating sandwiches, maybe swap your bread for like a lower calorie bread or use a lower calorie protein. If you're drinking sodas or sugary drinks or any kind of drink that has calories in it, go for like the diet sodas, the diet drinks, things that have a very little amount of calories or that have 0 calories. And that could be an easy swap to help you lose weight. If you're like me and you're eating fast food multiple times a day, maybe only eat it once a day. The rest of your meals, you can prepare something at home, maybe get some food prep going, anything to where you could actually consume a little bit less calories than you are right now. Or the best case scenario, you could do both. Consume less calories and or add or start doing more exercise. Those things are definitely going to help you get that momentum going back into the weight loss direction if you are coming to a halt. We decided that we were going to go back to the van. The situation at that apartment was just horrible. We didn't want to deal with it anymore. We would be able to save more money if we just went back to the van life. After all this time of living in LA and before leaving, I was on this super high and feeling really good because I was losing weight. I was still having a good time, but of course, all that weight loss was still in the back of my head and I still wanted to lose weight, but it wasn't happening anymore. Of course, all the extra movement and all of that around was very helpful, but it wasn't really enough and I was just kind of like balancing out and not going anywhere. Before we left, one of the most disgusting things ever happened to me. I kind of debated whether I should tell this story or not. Screw it, I'm gonna do it. I am disgusted by cockroaches. I hate them. In this apartment that we were staying in, they had these massive cockroaches. And this is what really scarred me. I was on my computer. Our beds were on the ground. We had these futon mattresses. All of a sudden, Dakota gets out of his bed and he turns the light on. And I see this big old cockroach and it's running across the ground. And then it starts running all over his bed. And I was just traumatized for life. That freaked me out so much that it was on my mind all the time. I really found it hard to go to sleep at night. I would try sleeping in my computer chair because I didn't want a cockroach to be running all over my bed. What's going on when we're sleeping? There would be times whenever I'd wake up to go to the bathroom at night and I'd have my flashlight on the ground, making sure that there was no cockroaches there. I had gone through fierce battles in the bathroom with cockroaches coming at me while I'm on the toilet. They're on the wall by the light switch. I absolutely hate cockroaches. That was one thing about moving out of this apartment was we're no longer gonna have to deal with these cockroaches. And this story takes place the night before we were about to move out and be done with these cockroaches forever. I remember one morning I woke up, it's just a regular morning. I'm in the bathroom and I'm doing my morning business. I get up to use some toilet paper. Before doing that, I'm kind of stretching, itching underneath my stomach. And all of a sudden something falls out from underneath my stomach. I look down, it's half of a cockroach. I'm freaking out. I'm oh my God, I'm underneath my stomach trying to get it out. And to this day, it is one of the most disturbing things, disgusting, nasty things that ever happened to me. Just to know that while I was sleeping, a cockroach crawled underneath my stomach and died. I might edit this part out. I don't know. This might be too much. I'm gonna end this video right here. If you like this video, go ahead, hit that like button. If you thought that cockroach story was one of the most disgusting things you've ever heard, go ahead, leave a comment about it down below. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel for more videos on my weight loss journey. And until next time, y'all have a nice night. I'm gonna try to have a nice night and hopefully no cockroaches crawl underneath my stomach and die. I am blasting up.